My 5 rules for writing negative book reviews. Negative reviews can actually be helpful. Sometimes what you don't like about a book can be exactly what someone else is looking for. That being said, here are my 5 rules for making sure that my negative reviews are helpful. Number 1, don't assume things about the author based on something they wrote. Unless an author has publicly discussed something, I don't assume that it's taken from their personal life. So, for example, there is a very popular author who always writes bad dads. They're absent or awful. Even like one of the main characters, when he becomes a dad, he just turns into this controlling jerk. I find that very annoying. So while I might mention in my review how annoying I find this trend in their writing to be, I will not make assumptions in my review about why they choose to write that way. Number 2, don't assume things about the reader. Just because someone else loved a book that I hated doesn't mean that there is anything wrong with them. There are several very popular book series that I do not get. I do not get them at all. Some I just find boring, a few I find to be genuinely problematic. But even what I consider to be problematic is based on my personal interpretation of the work. I am imperfect and my interpretations are not airtight. So unless I am really sure something is actually harmful, I trust other people to use their conscience in what they choose to enjoy. I do not write reviews accusing other readers of having bad taste or being bad people. Number 3, separate the author from the character/story. This one is similar to my first point, but it is a little different. Never attribute to malice that which can be attributed to incompetence. Some authors are just really bad at showing that bad ideas are bad. It's important to remember that ideas expressed by a character are not necessarily the ideas held by the author. So while I may judge the execution of an idea, I will not judge the intent. Because unless I have the author sitting there to tell me, I don't know what the intent was. For example, if I found a certain world-building detail or a certain character sexist, I'm not going to accuse the author of being sexist. What I will critique is the execution, so I will say that the character came across as sexist or the story came across as sexist. I have seen a lot of times where authors were trying to criticize systems and ideas, and they don't do that well. And so while I will criticize the creation, I try not to criticize the intent of the creator because the vast majority of the time I have no idea. Number 4, acknowledge my own biases. You have biases, I have biases, we all have biases. I do not like the alpha male archetype. This is because for most of my adult life, I have worked in a heavily male-dominated industry, which is cool because I love men. And the vast majority of the men I have gotten to work with are amazing people. But I have also had to deal with a number of men who are not operating at their highest level of identity, who are arrogant, domineering, who try to abuse their power. So now I find the whole super aggressive, dominant male character a little bit triggering, quite honestly. That is a personal bias I have, and I acknowledge that is a bias I have. There are many people who enjoy that archetype, specifically in romance books. Occasionally, I find one that I enjoy too. But any book that uses that archetype specifically for a main character or a love interest is going to be starting at a disadvantage with me. It might still be a brilliant book, but it's going to have to be pretty much perfect otherwise for me to still like it. I am aware of this, and I acknowledge this. Number 5, never tag the author. Reviews are for readers, not for authors. This is not a college class where we are critiquing people's writing for a grade. At the end of the day, we are judging a product for other consumers. It is perfectly fine not to like a book, but unless I am an editor, a beta reader, or a critique partner, or someone else the author has specifically solicited for advice, I will not tell the author what I didn't like about their work. Especially if a book is already published. Like, I don't expect the author to rewrite the book to make me happy. What do we hope to achieve here? I review books so other people can decide if that book is for them. Now go forth and leave negative reviews correctly. Or don't, I can't tell you what to do.